I am.
All right, here we are at episode. You got me, threw me off. What do I care how color-coded you are?
Coordinated.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. And we have Crazy Man Pete on here telling me about how he's color-coordinated.
Yeah, my coffee mug matches my shirt. I'm coordinated.
Next thing you know, you're going to be telling me about how you ordered new high heels off Amazon. Nice.
Hey, watch that. I don't order them from Amazon.
Hey, do you have your face on today? Can you be on the video or what?
This is it. Take it away.
Episode 221, Peter. 221. Finding the perfect lease option tenants once you acquire property.
Good.
Finding the perfect lease option tenant once you acquire property.
Bill, is she blonde?
Oh, stop. If you could pick good tenant buyers without guessing. Oh, no, I'm going to start over again. Yeah, would you stop with this joker? You got my attention on you, and yeah, let's just start over again. What if you could pick good tenant buyers without guessing? Just in a couple simple actions, all in the name of selling your properties fast and easy. I believe one of the hardest jobs in real estate is finding a buyer who qualifies for a bank loan. It is the realtor's weakest link and causes a lot of stress, frustration, and often letdowns. Before we go much further, let me point out it is not mandatory you sell a house in this very rigorous unconventional way. That's selling houses with getting the money right now. I'm calling it an unconventional way. Yeah.
Okay.
Knowing that 81% of real estate buyers don't qualify for bank loans means it is not the popular or conventional way to transact these deals.
It's the minority.
In fact, you shouldn't do this kind of retail business unless you have plenty of funds or a way to get them and want less returns on your investment. If you are weak at creative real estate transactions, you have no choice but to do it this way. We have done a lot of podcasts, Peter, already on how to attract houses using creative transactions. But how do you sell these fast and still stay safe and get paid from the buyers who can't qualify for those loans? In this podcast, we are going to open your mind to some amazing ideas most don't know exist. Never mind implement and profit from. You're in for a treat. So let's get going.
No, it's important. It's important. You know, once you get the house, I think people, if anything, they worry about, geez, if I do get a house, what do I do with it? Are you sure you're going to sell it? What if? So this is important.
Right. Jessica on Facebook says hello. She said, good morning, Pete and Bill. Good morning, Jessica.
Morning, Jessica.
So, get some tea in my mouth and lubricate my throat so we can go.
Go for it.
Let's start with some basic things that should be done to sell fast. You ready, Peter?
Sure.
Dive right in today. No bullshit, okay?
No, we're not done with bullshit.
Yeah, you already threw me off with the whole my clothes match and the blonde and oh my God. You know how to push my buttons, that's for sure. You do it better than my wife does, I promise that. Her I've become numb to. You I still get thrown off.
We'll have to talk. Me and Cam.
Thanks. One, the house must be ready to sell. You would think I wouldn't have to say that, right? If you listen to podcast number 220, which is the one before this one, it's how to prepare and sell property quickly and easily. You'll get the inside skinny on how we do this.
Right.
Okay. We went over all right down to the nitty gritty on how to do some of the staging and the things that you should do in the house, right? You should always act as though it is a buyer's market. This is important, Peter.
Yeah.
should always
Oh.
act as though it's a buyer's market. What does that mean to be a buyer's market, Pete?
Well, that means buyers have the edge. There's not that much. There's a lot of inventory. There's a lot of houses, and they get to pick and choose. And they can be fussy. So if you have a house and there's 10 others in the neighborhood, you got to be ready to sell your property.
Right. So a buyer's market is exactly that. That means they have a lot to choose from, and they could walk anytime they want because they can go get another one. They can replace you in an afternoon. Right.
It's like walking down a street and there's restaurant after restaurant after restaurant. You better be a damn good restaurant.
Right. So I have a coaching client that I'm working with right now that's buying a house in Vermont. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly one of the things I did with him, because the seller was giving him like big balls and blah, 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 blah. And he's like controlling the sale. And I finally got my coaching client to realize that this is not the only house for sale in that neighborhood. So as soon as I flipped his mind, right, and he did it, all I did was just talk to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That afternoon, he found another place that he could buy. So if this guy canceled the deal, he would go buy the other one. And he kind of let the other guy know that. And all of a sudden, the deal reeled back in, and he's buying the property again. The guy tightened up a little bit, and he realized somebody must have got to him and said, he's paying cash for the house. So it's like, it was a good deal for the guy. And he's giving him an occupancy agreement, a post sale occupancy agreement. So there was a lot of advantages to this guy that somebody like probably the attorney said to him, don't mess this deal up. This is a good deal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a buyer's market. So in that particular case, like my coaching client could have just walked away and went and bought another house the same afternoon. That's better or equivalent to. Sure. Seller's market is when the seller makes the rules. In other words, like during COVID, it's a supply, a supply and demand thing. Mm. So there's not a lot of houses on the market. So you have to comply with what the seller wants to be able to make the transaction. So I guess you can say the guy with the gold makes the rules, right?
Always.
So in this particular case, the gold is the motivation, right? Mm-hmm. So if there's not a lot of houses on the market and buyers want to buy, then they have to comply with what the sellers want. If there's a lot of houses on the market, then the sellers have to comply with what the buyers want. So what I'm saying here is you should always act as though it's a buyer's market, really, whether it's good or not.
Yeah, put your best foot forward, do the best job you can on the house. Why not?
This will attract a better qualified buyer. Mm. Okay. Failure to present what good buyers want will cost you dearly in the long run. So by always having your head in like it's a buyer's market and they could walk at any second, it'll get you, like you said, put your best foot forward, and it'll get you to start thinking about what they want instead of what you want. Now, how many times have you heard this, Peter? In fact, I'll let you just give some examples. Like a student will call up and they got a deal. And what happens? They're already spending the money, right? They're like, yeah. But who are they talking about in the deal all the time?
Themselves.
Yeah.
What's going on for them?
How much money they're going to make and how they're going to do this and how they're going to do that. Never giving any consideration to who's going to buy and how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. That's how you know you have a suspect, right? Especially when you're acquiring houses, you know you have a suspect because they're just talking about them, not taking into consideration like the house is worth 200, they're asking 220. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions you could ask them, is that, well, how do you expect somebody to pay 220? Do you think the bank's going to appraise it for that? Mm. And unless they got 20 grand in down payment money, then how are they going to get to 220? And the seller's not thinking that, right? No. So when you become the seller, you have to take that in consideration. Like if you're going to ask, like we talk about, if you're going to ask, 5 or 10 or whatever percent over the market value, you have to wonder how are they going to do that and why would they do that? We're going to cover that in a couple of minutes, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But you understand what I'm saying is you have to. Failure to present what good buyers want will cost you dearly. So you have to figure out what it is they want, what it is that the market is not giving them, mostly what is a realtor not giving them, because there's a lot of realtors out there and they can go on the MLS. Christ, you can go on the internet nowadays. You don't even have to be an MLS user and you can go find properties, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. Mostly, you don't want to have too much cost, because if you do this wrong, it'll cost you a lot of money, mostly with the holding cost. Then you're going to have. So here's what happens. Here's what I'm trying to say. So if you don't do this, right, and you don't survey the market and find out what's needed and wanted, and then you come and present something and you think it's a great deal because it benefits you, what happens is the house will sit. You won't get enough people through it. You won't get offers. And after a while, what's going to happen is you'll turn desperate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll pick a subpar tenant buyer who gives you more trouble than it's worth.
Mm.
Because you have a scarcity mentality, right? Good morning, Britton. I think it's Britton. I'm going to show that to you. Make sure. How do you say that, Peter? Britton.
Yeah, Britain.
Good. So
I might be wrong too, but
yeah. So I should stop for a second because I missed something. The first part of the show, I got thrown off. So let me just do a little bit of housework. I know we jumped right in, but let me just do a little bit of housework. So we are. He said yes. We are currently live streaming on Facebook, as I call it in my emails, Flakebook. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitter. So if you don't know how to find this podcast or you want to watch us live, the video, then you can go to any one of those channels. You can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube, and you can go to Twitter. I strongly suggest wherever you listen to us, whether it be a podcast platform or one of these other platforms, please subscribe to the channel so that when we pop on every Thursday morning, you know what's going on. We record, we live stream the recording on Thursday morning, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then on Monday, it gets uploaded. Emma, my daughter and my assistant, will make sure the video is cleaned up. She puts the entrance and the exit on, the podcast, the music and all that stuff. And then she uploads it to the podcast platform. So Monday it gets released. The other thing is if you're listening to me on a phone or any like YouTube, any description, there is a link in the description that sends you right to our free stuff page. So all you have to do is click on that link, and there's like 25. There's documents, videos, checklists, all kinds of free training that you can get. So just hop on over there with that link and make sure you grab some of our free stuff. The other thing I'd like to say is I've spent a little bit of time this week. It's probably more time than I should have. Hey, Desiree. And what I have done is I revamped the Flipping Houses for Rookies front page. I revamped it, and I've put the new course on there so that I put the new course on there so that you can get the videos of how I do my 7 structures. We used to sell this for like $200-300, and now we're giving it away for free. So when you go on there, the free course is on there. Plus, Peter, what I did is I've worked with Will Cruz, Will Cruz, that's his name. Will Irish, who has been my coach for many years, and we worked months and months and months and months and months on streamlining this whole process, and we've got it down to 3 steps, and those 3 steps are now on the website. So if you think that you really want to do real estate, listening to the podcast and all this kind of stuff is really cool, but go to the website, flippinghousesforrookies.com, and there's 3 steps on there. Okay. So Desiree, you're asking, so when I'm talking to people like this, they're sending me messages on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitter. So she's asking about on the new bandit signs. So I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Desiree. So just give me some more information and I'll help you out. All right. So failure to present what good buyers want will cost you dearly in the long run, mostly holding cost. Then you get desperate and pick a subpar tenant, which happens. It's happened to me. It's happened to others. Yeah. So, does that make sense, Peter?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Because I kind of chopped all that up in the middle of describing all that. I went off and did the homework, and now I'm back.
No, that's a simple concept. It's not much different from getting a tenant. I've had a bad tenant and I've had good tenants. So I know what you mean. If anybody has any experience, even being a tenant, living in a place, there's good and bad. And this kind of arrangement isn't just a rental. It's a little bit beyond that. So you want to have a little more attention on getting the right guy.
So the point that I want to make here, this whole podcast that will probably be an hour and 30 minutes, hopefully, if not too much longer than that. But the whole point that I want to make here is cause and effect. Most people, when they think of tenants, think they're the effect of. What is a tenant going to do to me? Are they going to not pay me? Are they going to damage my property? Are they going to do this? It's like, take your freaking diapers off because you're not a little whiny little baby, right? And stop thinking like that, because if you do what we're going to talk about on this podcast, you can stay in control. And if they don't pay you, you should make more money when they don't pay you than when they do pay you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get that and you understand that, then the worry of them not paying you or damaging is like minimal. And all of a sudden, because where your attention goes, energies flow and results show. So if you have attention on, oh, they're not going to pay me, what energy are you going to develop? What energy field around you are you going to be putting out, emanating?
Yeah, it'd be pretty negative.
It's going to be negative. They're not going to pay me. Tenants are bad. They suck. So what kind of an attitude are you going to have when you're talking to anybody about it?
Not good.
What results are you going to show? It's kind of like your personal finances. It's like, oh, I owe so many bills. I got to make more money. I owe a lot of bills. Well, if you put your attention on, I got a lot of bills, what are you going to get more of? A lot of bills. What you need to put your attention on is how I can make more money, or how can I make money quicker or faster or with less hours, or you got to get creative on that. You can't put your attention on I need more. I got too many bills, because that's what you'll get, more bills, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same way with your tenants, right? So that's why when I talk about purchasing or acquiring property, you got to be comfortable in your own mind, because the bottom line is that when the ship sinks, when the Titanic hits the iceberg, the captain is the last one going down. Everybody else is jumping that ship except for the captain. So when a deal blows up, everybody's bailing, everybody's jumping, they're getting their life preservers, they're going to run away from you, and you're going to be the last person standing. Okay, so make sure you're comfortable in your own skin and with the decisions you made, so that you can turn it around. And the last thing that I want to tell you is, having failed at a couple businesses, which has taught me a lot, one of the things that I did with one of my businesses, which I admire very much, President Donald Trump, not president then, and not that I admire him fully, I'm not saying that, but this one point that I admired, and I actually picked up on it and realized I had done the same thing. The device that got you in trouble, in other words, what caused you to go bankrupt or whatever, what business caused you, should be the one that pulls you out. In other words, when I had trouble one time with a business, I made that business recoup the money to pay it all off. The business got me in trouble, so it had to get me out of trouble, right? So like back in the day when Donald Trump was younger, he had businesses, and he used it. It was clever. I read about it. It was clever what he did. He took all the debt and put it into the casinos, because if he did go bankrupt, that was the least ramification through the casino business.
Oh, wow.
Right? And it was the most potential to be able to pay all the debt. So he put all the debt in one business so the other businesses could flourish and prosper and not struggle with the debt, right? Kind of like he put the bookkeeper in the back room and said, you deal with all the phone calls, we're going to make money. Right? So he put all the debt and all the onus on that one business because it could handle it. And then sooner or later, they made enough money and they paid it all off. It was a genius plan. I mean, the Democrats don't think so when they bash them about it. But the point is that it was a genius plan. So anyways, why I'm ranting about this is because when that happens and you're standing alone in the dark, you got to be comfortable in your skin. So when you're going through this podcast and you're talking about it, these are subtle things, easy things, decisions that you make. It's not so much your actions, it's decisions in your mindset of how you're going to deal with these tenant buyers. what set of rules, what operating basis are you going to allow them to work with? You know, what's your acceptance level of taking them on as a tenant buyer? And you need to teach that to them. And when you can do that, then the whole game changes. Okay, does that make sense, Peter, or did I just rant?
No, absolutely. There's some details in there, but just keep talking. We'll get them. That's a good viewpoint.
All right, so right now what we're talking about is some basic things that you can do. And these are some of the concepts I'm talking about. So number one was make sure the house is ready to sell. Make sure you know who your customer is. Make sure you know what they want, right? And if you don't, then you're going to end up with a long runway, and you're going to end up with a scarcity mentality, and you're going to end up with a subpar tenant, and that's where all the problems come in because you didn't know how to prepare the house, okay? Episode 220, podcast 220, talks about how you prepare the house, so we're not going to do that today. So now we're moving on to number two, my second point. Plan your process ahead of time, right? Always know your limitations and your possibilities before hunting for buyers. Okay? You know your choices up front, right? This will keep you from getting overloaded. You will be able to spot your buyer a mile away when you do this. Okay? And discard the suspects quickly. It is easier to hit the bullseye if you can see it. I had a friend of mine one time. He will not be named, but he did a drill one time with like some girl, right? I think she was a psychic person, but I don't remember that. It's just a vague recollection of that. She had him write out because he was looking for a girlfriend, you know, and she had him write out like what he wants, like specifics. And the point of it is that when he found her, he would notice her, and everybody else would like size up to this list. Right? So every girl he met, it would be like, you know, would be checking off, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Right? And I was surprised because it was 3 or 4 months later, maybe 6 months later, but it wasn't a long time. And sure as shit, here she came.
Shows up, huh?
Just like out of the blue. And it was some weird thing, you know, like, you know, and it wasn't this, but it was like they had a car accident and they ended up falling in love. You know, it was something weird like that. You know what I mean? It was like some strange thing. It wasn't like, oh, it was in a laundromat or something like that. It was some, you know, weird thing at work or something like that. And she just kind of like walked by his path. And his point to me when he was telling me about it, which he ended up marrying her, what his point was to me is that because he was very clear in his mind what she looked like, right? And because he had that picture so clear, he was able to compare everything to that. He said, I wouldn't have noticed this girl at first because the things that he was looking for weren't like written on her forehead. They didn't show up like as the first presentation. It was as he talked to her more and, you know, they started getting involved a little bit more. It was a process of, oh my God, he had forgotten about the list. Right? And as he went through this relationship, he started to remember, oh my God, that's that list.
But it was there in the back of his head. I wouldn't be surprised if the conversations would gravitate to some of those points in his head to see if they're there, even if he wasn't thinking about it.
Subconsciously, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because, you know, people talk about write down what you want, make lists and all that stuff, but it's just to make you aware of it, so you see what you're looking for when you see it. Right. Can you say a little more about know what you want when you're selling a house? Because I know we're in houses, and I saw this early on, and I had never thought of it. Like we're buying a house, and you're thinking, well, this will be a young couple who'll want to buy this, maybe a couple of kids. I'm thinking, how do you know that? But well, you know, just fit the property and how many rooms they had. Can you say anything more about what we would do?
I am going to in a little while, but to prove my point, like we had the property in Meriden, right?
Yeah.
That we sold a few months ago. Okay. And we bought that so cheap. We had many options, right? You and I spoke, mostly you, until because you kept saying, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Right? And I'm like, I don't know. I was trying to figure out, what do we do? Do we wholesale it? We had that house wholesale with a $40,000 profit. And I said, no.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to decide, what are we going to do with this property? And then what happened once we did that? I decided, and I spoke to you, and then we decided collectively.
Yep.
We're going to renovate it. We went and raised, I don't know, what was it, 50 grand or 60 grand?
Yeah.
And we ended up with a $93,000 profit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
yep.
I had to make that decision early on.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so are we going to sell this house on a lease option? Are we going to do a slot deal? Are we going to do owner financing? Are we going to use a land contract? Like, and I'm not saying that you pigeonhole yourself into like, this is the only way we're going to do it, but you want to lean towards which way you want to exit.
Okay.
Now I have a disease, and you know this. I do. I'm not even joking around. I have a disease.
Okay.
My disease is called math. When I'm in a deal, the math guides me. That's my disease. So even though emotions buy and sell hot property, I need to make sure I feel good with the math, right? Because the math is like my compass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's why I and you see this happen because I'll talk about the math first, and I'll talk about the options, not the options, the choices.
Yeah.
Right, and then depending on the emotions between you and the sellers and what I think is going to happen, it'll guide me into it'll pigeonhole me into one of the math equations I want to use. So
you have a few choices. That's what's good about it.
So it's a lonely world up here on Bill's planet between my ears, and I'm not even joking, because it's math and paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just a way for me to communicate to all you guys. But when I'm thinking about the deals, it's easy for me. It's the math and the paperwork. Like, what math am I going to use? Where am I making my money? Is it money now, money monthly, money later? And then how do I solidify it all on paperwork? And then once I make those decisions, then I go off and see if I can get agreements, which is the emotions of the deal. Like, what will everybody agree on? Mm-hmm. Right? You know, do I have an angry seller? Do I have a fearful seller? Do I have an enthusiastic seller? What kind of a seller do I have? Right? Same thing with a buyer. You know, it's like I need to match all that stuff up. So it's a little bit raw what I just told you, but that's kind of where I come from. So did I answer your question?
Close enough.
Okay. Number 3, you need to know how, when, and where the buyers look for these type of deals. Okay.
Really?
Or like we talked about last week in episode 220, or what works best is when you make it look like they stumbled upon this crazy deal and they need to seek it out. You know, they put a sign in the drive path, you know, 2 or 3 blocks away, house for sale, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, right? And it's a handwritten sign, and they're going to the grocery store, they're going somewhere, they're going to their mother-in-law's on Sunday afternoon, and they're like, oh my God, what is that? And it piques their curiosity, like they stumbled upon it.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're on Facebook and they're like, oh, what is that? Or they're on Zillow, wherever we put the ad. The point is that you need to know when and where these buyers are going. Right? Let me give you an example. Yeah, let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
You have a person that likes ships, like sailing. Mm-hmm. Right? You wouldn't go to Arizona and advertise for that person, would you? In the desert, would you? It would make sense if you're going to communicate with that person that you would want to go by a lake, a big lake, probably the ocean. Right? So like here in Connecticut, it's called the shore, right? You go down to Essex and Saybrook and, all down the coast there along the line. And they're all coastline towns, like you and I will go down there for your lobster rolls because you want to have a lobster roll.
That's
right? So it's like the thing to do is to jump in the car and drive down there and get a lobster roll.
Mm-hmm.
Could we get a lobster roll an hour away? Yeah. Right. But I mean, we're close enough to Maine. We could drive 4 or 5 hours to Maine and get a real lobster roll from where the real lobsters are. Right. So it's kind of like that. You wanna know. Hang on. You want to have a vicinity of where they might hang around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And these are weird things I'm putting out here. I don't even know why I'm doing this today, but I learned this when I was a young boy when my old man was teaching me how to deer hunt. It's like you got a big, you got acres and acres of woods. Like, where do you go? Well, you go where they're going to bed down. So we would go into the laurels, and there were certain places that he would know that a deer would bed down. And why is that? Because sooner or later the deer is going to come from or go to that area. Right? So what path? They walk the same path all the time. They actually make a path in the woods to get there and to get to and get from there. Right? So you find that path, and it's just a waiting game at that point. You just wait till the deer walks by, and you're like, you're good.
Yeah.
Right? Fishing is the same way. I'm a phenomenal fisherman. I really am. When I want to be. You want to know why? Because I study the water. I know it's indigenous for bait. Like, I'm not going to put a piece of bait in the water with something that doesn't look like it lives in that water. Right? Big thing about fishing is water temperature. Fish are full of mercury. So what happens is the temperature of the water raises or lowers their body temperature. So when the fish are hot or too cold, they don't move as quick. So you can't have bait that moves quick. They move slower. They're lethargic. I mean, these are simple rules about fishing. And why do I talk about this? Because this is the same way with marketing, right? When you know what kind of bait to use or know where they're going to be, like, for example, with the fishing in the middle of August, you're going to want to go out on a boat to the middle of the lake because they're deep in the water because they're trying to get cool. They don't want to be up by where the sun is, right? But this time of the year, when it starts getting cooler, they come to the surface trying to get the sun to get warm.
Right.
Right. So you can then fish on the edge of water. So I know these things because of my knowledge. Right. So that's what I'm telling you to do is I'm not talking about go off and do a 5-week study on personalities, but, there are certain dry paths in cities, in towns, in suburbs, and there are certain grocery stores and there are certain things that attract people. So when you're putting your signs out, you go do that. There's certain restaurants and certain types of places that people would go that may not have a lot of money and might want to rent to own. So you seek those out and you put your signs around those places. I mean, does that make sense? Because I'll stop talking about it if it does.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like you have a lot of experience doing it. I'm not sure how much us beginners can grasp that and like have that figured out and do all the right steps. But so far, close enough. I mean, I've just been putting signs where I see a lot of traffic. Like I'll put signs at the end of the highway exits leading to the mall where like it's just busy and nobody picks those up because nobody cares about the exits. So at least a lot of people are seeing it.
All right. So Peter, let's just be common sense. It has nothing to do with my education. I hate when people tell me that. I'm sorry. I got an attitude now. Okay. It's not my education. It's just plain old common sense. You have a town. Let's take Wallingford, for example. How many grocery stores are in Wallingford?
I don't know. 2, 3?
2? 2. Okay. How close are they to one another?
Are they in the same street?
They're fairly close.
Yeah.
There's only 2 streets to get to these grocery stores. So if I'm going to sell to a family, a 3-family, 2-bedroom house, wouldn't it make sense that they're going to have to feed their kids?
Probably.
Okay. So what direction are they going to go to the grocery store? There's only going to be 1 or 2 main routes.
Oh, yeah.
So put your signs on those routes. Okay. I mean, that's a common one. There's other ones that you're going to run into, like, banks are another one. People used to have to go to the bank. Nowadays, not as much as they used to, but they used to have to go to banks, right? Maybe there's a section of town that has Home Depot, Lowe's. Home Depot is a great target. Why is that?
Well, I put my signs there because people going to Home Depot have homes they have homes and they might be fixing them up either because they just bought them or they want to sell them. They're doing something.
Right.
They're doing something.
So they're making a change, right?
They're doing something, yeah.
So why not be around that place? Right? Here's another one. Restaurants. Who's the most popular restaurant in town? Right?
Yeah.
Is it a pizza joint? So get signs around the pizza joint. How about what's in that town? Like what kind of recreation? Is there a park and recs that does a lot of work? How about a soccer field where all the kids go play soccer? It's just being obvious. It's what conjugates people, what causes them to come there. It could be a high school football team. It could be, who knows? There's so many variables, but it's the common thing where people would want to be. And then you just work your way out from there. And you pick some sort of a drive route between where your house is and where they are, and you start to do that. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So you need to know how, when, where, right? You need to know, how do they get there? When do they do it? And why are they going there? Right? That's just to keep it simple. There's other ways to do it, but we'll keep it at that because I'm kind of off track here, okay? Point number 4, decide how much profit now.
Yeah,
when do we decide to profit on the deal, Peter?
Well, we decide it. We don't find out until the last day when we get the check, but we decide it when we're buying it.
Right. We have a goal and we know what we want to do. So I say you have to figure out your how much now, how much monthly, how much later. Now here's the interesting part of that formula, the 3 of those. You're in control of 2 of them, not 1 of them. So you could mathematically figure out how much the monthly payment is. Obviously, if they could buy a rent something for $1,500 and you're like $4,000, that ain't gonna happen.
Yep.
But if you're $1,500, you could probably push it to $17,000. Right. The other thing is you could do comps and you could figure out the money later. So if the houses in the neighborhood are selling for $220,000, maybe you could get $230,000. You could push it, but those are 2 variables that are not going to change a lot. Right. The money now, which is the deposit money, is what you need to go to the market for. So you have to decide now what's the least you would take. Right? Like I'd be happy if I just got, if I got just $5,000, if I get in trouble, I could at least take $5,000 and still make money. Yeah. Right. You don't want to like put it there. You don't want to make a decision that I'm going to take $5,000 because then that's what will happen. But more to the point is, well, even if I screwed this deal up and I made, $3,000, it would be a good thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, Peter, the listeners that are listening to us right now, they should just get off this money thing. Knock it off. Get that out of your head. So sick and tired of hearing this. It costs. You know how much it costs to get an education in this business?
Yeah.
The cheapest guy that I know of, other than me, the cheapest guy I know of is $30,000. It's between $30,000 and $50,000 initiation fees. You go to any one of the gurus that teach this, right? So here's my question. If you went and did what I tell you to do on past podcasts, and you go out and start talking to people and don't try to buy a house and give yourself 30 days to just go on Flakebook and go into Marketplace and start messaging people that have houses for rent and say to them, oh, would you be willing to rent to me for a year or 2 and then sell it? And some of them will say yes. So you start to have a conversation with them. You go out to the place and you look at it and just practice. Don't even try to buy the house. Just practice, right? So here's the deal. Is it okay, Peter, if you make 0 money your first deal, but you did the deal? The way I see it is you just saved 30 grand of education.
Absolutely. That's why I called you after I spent the 300 on the weekend with the wife 5-6 years ago, because I knew the next number would be pretty big. So let's just work with Bill. I'll give him whatever he needs as long as I can learn. It was 17,000 for the very next step, from 300, 17,000.
Right.
That's a big jump. Hey.
And that wasn't full coaching like what we do now. That is nothing like that. Right. Now, here's the point that I want to make, and then we're going to move on because this is not what I meant to talk about today. But here's the point. All I'm telling you to do is not self-educate yourself, because you will not make a career out of this self-educating yourself. To do-it-yourselfers that are cheap and don't want to spend the money for weekly coaching or have reservations about spending $500 for a do-it-yourself course, or spending a few $1,000s in themselves, you're not going to make it. I'm sorry to tell you, you're not going to make it. You'll get a few deals done, but you're not going to replace your income. You're not going to do it. You just can't. It's impossible. Why reinvent the wheel? It's already been invented for you from many people like myself. Okay? Mm-hmm. I am telling you this. I am telling you that if you go out and start talking to sellers and you start figuring out where your weaknesses are and where your strengths are, you now know where to put your money. So if your weakness is in the math and the deal structuring, that's what you got to study. If your weakness is on how to talk to people, that's what you got to study. If your weakness is going to be like the paperwork, which is really easy and people make much more out of it than what it is, then that's what you need to study. Maybe it's as simple as, I don't know, how you dress, or, I was on a call the other day with a student, and he said his first phone call, put him in the emergency room.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What?
Anxiety. He had a panic attack.
Are you serious?
Swear to God.
He got that nervous calling a house owner that he had to go to the hospital? I've never heard that.
And now he went through all that. He jumped through his own skin, and now he's laughing at that because he's like, hey, it's nothing like I thought it was. It's everything like you said it was, Bill. It's not that hard. Matter of fact, most people, when I call them, they don't even answer the phone. So what was I worried about? Leaving a message?
I don't understand that. I always say this. I'm going to repeat myself because you need to hear this. When somebody is selling a house and you call them to buy the house, they're not mad at you. They're like, honey, somebody wants to buy the house. I talked to Miguel a couple of days ago. He wants to sell us the condo. Talked to Peter, like, oh, come see the house. I talked to Daisy. I talked to Cindy. They want to sell the house. You're helping them. It's like, honey, the pizza guy's coming with the pizza. Don't let him in.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we need to decide how much profit we want to make, right? Money now, money monthly, money later. These are just parameters. Don't make decisions like I'm not going to do the deal unless. I'm just talking about parameters, right? Your highs and your lows. The money, and like I said, the money available now. The money now, Desiree. She says, honey, someone wants to buy the house. So anyways, you want to have parameters, right? So also, this is important, and I hope I don't shoot myself in the foot with this one because this could sound worse than what it is. But also, is the buyer going to be an FHA or CHFA buyer or a conventional buyer? Right? In other words, what kind of loan is he? You should plan for this now, so you stick to it and get the money later. So FHA is a federally backed mortgage. So that means the government is the co-signer on the loan. So the bank executes the loan. So if you go to the bank, they'll service the loan for the government. The government's not going to service it for you, but they fund the bank and they back the loan. So the reason why FHA is because the government doesn't exactly care about your credit report. The government's goal is to put as many families as they can into houses to live the American dream. That's their goal, right? And it really is that way because I've read it, okay? So I believe that. So my point is they're not gonna be like the banker, and they're not gonna string you on a credit score. Now, credit score has something to do with it, but it's not the only variable for the decision. You know, they're going to want to look at income, so they're much more flexible with the lower income or the lower credit scored people, because they want to have equal rights for everyone. You know, with a banker, he don't give a shit. You know, it's either you got above a 650 credit score or you don't. There's a strike line in the dirt, and it's like, this makes you a good citizen, this makes you a bad citizen. We know who you are now, so either we're going to play with you or you're not. That's just the scumbag banker. You know, it's just, so what? That's how they play, whatever. Bankers actually believe they're the only ones with money. So that's why they play that way, right? So a CHFA is a new owner, so it's a first-time homeowner. And the difference between an FHA mortgage and a CHFA mortgage is an FHA mortgage, they only require 3 to 5% down. A CHFA, they require no money, and what they'll do is they'll give you an FHA mortgage and then a second mortgage for the deposit money. So suppose you need $12,000 for deposit, you'll have a first mortgage, which is an FHA, and then a second mortgage for the $12,000. So you'll have, and they'll sometimes put in one payment, but everything is all in one loan, or one loan with, or two loans, I should say. Usually one payment. Okay, sometimes they're two, but usually one payment. Point is you can get into a house, for a few $1,000s often with a CHFA mortgage. However, the reason why I'm bringing this up, and we're going through this with the renovation I'm doing right now, because like on the back porch, there's a few things like the staircases, the way they're positioned. I have my guys putting up a railing that I don't need to put up, but I know that I'm going to sell to an FHA or CHFA buyer, so I'm going to have that inspection. So knowing that in my head, I'm going to do certain things now and not do them in the transaction when I go to sell.
Right? You can be proactive on it.
Yeah. So even though you're going to sell to a lease option buyer most of the time, you want to make sure that when they go to closing, this stuff comes up. So who's fixing that, him or us?
Yeah.
The tenant or us. So that's why I'm bringing that. So I'm spending way too much time on this. We want to get to the nitty-gritty. We haven't gotten there. So number 5, I like to play with the numbers before I start getting calls, right? So going back to number 2, planning my process and knowing how to buy, hit my bullseye. More important, it gives me a rock bottom and a woohoo number. Like, woo, look what I did, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you go through this short process, you put an ad where your buyers usually travel, like we talked about before, so you can be found by accident. That's the best way to do it. Okay. So all I do in the ads are this is either on the sign or in the ad or on a flyer, whatever you're going to do, because you used to put flyers in grocery stores, right?
Yeah.
On the bulletin boards, right? And the tear-offs on the bottom. So if you have a place that a lot of people congregate, a laundromat or pizza place, and they got a bulletin board, you could do that, right? So all the ad says is this. First line, capital letters, house for sale. Second line, capital letters, no bank qualifying. Third line, capital numbers, no such thing. 203-679-9801. That's my office phone number. The phone number. The phone number should come from freedomvoice.com. $9 a month, you get a free recorded message, and you can have a phone line. If you can find another place cheaper, go for it. But if you're just getting started, go to freedomvoice.com and just set up a line so you can have a free recorded message. And I'm going to go over that in a minute. The next line, so I'm going to do this again so the first line is house for sale. Second line is no bank qualifying. Third line is the phone number. Fourth line in smaller letters, in parentheses, 24/7 recorded message. We use that because I learned that from Dan Kennedy, because some people don't want to confront the salesman. So they want to listen to the free recorded message so they can figure out what it's all about before they actually go into the sales process. You'll get more phone calls. Okay. Or if you don't want to use that, you can use this ad. First line is house for sale. Second line is owner financing available. Third line is phone number. Fourth line is 24/7 pre-recorded message. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The recorded message should have these things in the message. Now you make it your own, but it should have these things in the message. You ready, Peter?
Yeah.
I'm not going too fast, am I?
No, it's good.
I'm not going too slow, am I?
No, it's okay.
Okay, good. So the first thing you want to put in the free recorded message is thank you for calling, obviously. I say thank you for calling the free real estate hotline, but that's just me because I'm a marketing guy. But in any event, after you do that, you want to give the address of the property. The property is located at 123 Main Street. Okay. Then the next thing you want to do is give them simple directions. Like if you're coming from, the theater that everybody knows about, just go down Main Street and where there's a Shell station, take a right, and then it's a second left. You don't want to like drone on about the directions, like every little detail of the directions. You just want to give them an idea of where it is in town.
Mm-hmm.
So Desiree's asking, could we do, let me just put it in there. She says, could we do mock ads and then add them to a buyer's list for a lease option in select deals? Yes, you could do that. I have a little bit of a reservation about that because it's a little misleading, but yes, I have students that do that. They'll put an ad up, and then when people call, say, "Oh, we sold that property. Would you like to put your name on a list?" There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to do that, for sure. What I talked about in episode 220, Desiree, was that you could do some slot deals that are kind of skinny deals just to get a buyer's list. So yeah, it might only be a couple $1,000 deal for you, and you may not think it's worth it. But if you do those deals and build a nice buyer's list, now from that point forward, every time you talk to a seller, you can say, "Oh, I've got 65 people or 69 people or 38 people on a list that are qualified and ready to buy." And that gives you much more certainty when you're doing acquisitions. So absolutely, if you want to do that, then go for it. Okay. All right. Free recorded message. First thing you're going to do is welcome them to the call. Then you're going to give them the address. Then you're going to give them simple directions without geeking out. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to give them bedrooms and bathrooms amounts. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then you want to tell them good credit, fair credit, or bad credit is not a problem. You don't want to go any further than that. Then you're going to say we have programs for everyone to qualify. So you can go check out the inside of the house 24 hours, 7 days a week. And last week in episode 220, we talked about how I set the house up and how we do that so you can let them into the house. We do it through free recorded messages, and it's all there. So go listen to episode 220. Okay. So again, we covered it all there. So please go there. Okay. So now I want to cover a few things so you know how to handle people calling in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So first of all, don't talk to anyone unless they have done your next step form, which is asking about the deposit available. Okay. And fill out the application. So the only way that I talk to anybody, now you have to realize that nobody knows how much this house cost or how to contact me until they've gone in the house and gone to the kitchen counter and gotten the flyer pack. They don't know anything. They don't know how much it costs. They don't know how to there's no way they're getting me unless they've been in the house and gone to the kitchen counter. You notice when I said the message, the voice message, there was no price.
Mm-mm.
Don't do that because they'll decide they can't afford it. No, all you're telling them to do is go look at the house. This is a used car salesman trick. Get them in the car, let them drive it, let them fall in love, and then we'll talk numbers because the numbers change after they fall in love. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, this is not necessarily true for a house, but it's true for a house. Like it could be in the wrong neighborhood. I'll give you a classic one, Peter. I'll give you a total classic one, which is the reason why we're doing this. Is it'll tell them which school district they're in. A lot of people don't want to pull their kids out of one school district and put them into another.
Yeah.
Same town, it's just a different school district. So if you tell them, oh, it's over by Stop and Shop, you go down to the stop sign, take a left, and it's 3. They know, oh, that's such and such school district. Okay, I should go look at it. Or that's not such and such school district. I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the marketing should pre-screen these people. Right? So that's what we're doing with some of this stuff, right? So another pre-screening process is don't talk to anyone unless they fill out your next step form and your application. Now, for a very long time, we had people fax them. Then we had them scan them and email them. Lately, what I do is I tell them on the form, I tell them, fill out the form, take a picture of it, and text me. Right? And they're hard to read, but I can print them and I can actually use them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this buyer's pack has in it frequently asked questions that I've tested and accumulated over 18 plus years. Actually, it's the first for several years. I haven't changed it in several years, but it's all the common questions that buyers would ask, right? Sorry, I have a contractor asking me where I put a check, and I didn't put a check anywhere, so it took my attention. So anyways, what happens is these frequently asked questions, which are 2 pages, okay, answer a lot of the common questions, like how much do I need for a deposit? How does the rent to own work? So there's common questions, and I've devised 2 pages of these common questions, because if you don't do that, you're going to have 100 phone calls asking the same damn question. And what's going to happen is you're going to get burned out talking to all these suspects, and then a real prospect's going to come along, and you're not going to recognize them because you're burned out from talking to too many people, because you're like an automaticity, like blah, 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 saying the same thing over and over again, and you'll miss someone. So that's why we want the marketing and the flyer pack to do all that.
Right, and that's in episode 220. It explains that on the kitchen counter when they walk in. So at the end of the house, they get all that there. That's what happened.
Right. Yeah. So on episode 220 we talked about that. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, Pete.
Yes.
We're talking about what right now?
Talking about pre-qualifying people.
Yeah, and how do we do that with the flyer pack?
Well, there's on the application, there's a few things that ask how much money do you have down and what's the most you can pay for, rent, that kind of thing, to see what they have for their finances, for the money now, money later.
Right. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen in Bill's world, Pete? When people listen to this podcast, what are they gonna send me on a support ticket?
They're going to send you, but how much is it?
Where's the flyer pack?
Where's the flyer pack?
How do I see it? How do I get it?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's in the How to Buy Real Estate Without a Loan course.
Mm-hmm.
But today I'm going to do something wild and crazy, Peter. You're going to be like, what?
Bill, you shouldn't call these free things. You call these steals, because what you give away for free is really ridiculous. Yeah. You call it steals.
So here's what I'm going to do. If you go to my website, flippinghousesforrookies.com, top right-hand side, there's a link that says testimonials, or you can type in flippinghousesforrookies.com/testimonials, and you leave me a testimonial of how you know me, whether it's a podcast, a meetup, or anything. You leave me a testimonial, and I'm even willing to accept ones that are not that good, because honestly, I've got a lot of testimonials and they're all good. So if it's not that good, then tell me, and I'll still post it, because I don't care, because I've got so many good ones. The 1 or 2 bad ones makes me real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go leave me a testimonial. Send me a support ticket and tell me that you left me a testimonial. And if I go check it and it's there, and I'm not gonna decide whether it's good or bad, just that there is a testimonial there, and it's got to be more than 5 words, like a paragraph or something, a testimonial. I will email you this document. I will email this flyer pack, which has, like I talked about in 220, it has the description of the house on the first page. It's got the frequently asked questions. It's got the next step form, and it's got the application. I will email it to you totally for free. Your cost is you need to leave me a testimonial.
You are free.
Well, I'm not done yet, because I thought that was pretty crazy, but I thought I could do better than that. If you leave me a video testimonial, which you could do on my website, all this stuff you can do on the website. You don't need any special equipment. You could do it on your cell phone. You could do it on your computer, whatever. If you leave me a video testimonial, I will not only send you the flyer pack, but I will send you the lease option template for free.
Oh.
So you'll get the flyer pack and you will get the lease option template for free for your buyers.
You're crazy, man.
So leave me a video testimonial, like I can actually see you, and make a video, and I will give you both documents. Okay, I'm going to regret this later on, but if you leave me a written testimonial, I'll give you just the flyer pack. If you leave me a video testimonial, and written, obviously, or however you want to do it, then I'll give you both.
So
You have to leave the testimonials. I'll know they're there because my system tells me that. But then you have to go to the support ticket, send me a support ticket, because that's how I'm going to respond to you. Because I'm not going to go look for your email and try to figure out who you are. I'm not doing that. I'm way too lazy for that. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to buy houses. I don't want to chase you to give you something for free. You need to make it easy for me. So make the testimonial, whether it's a video or written. Send me a support ticket at flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side, it says support. You click on that, send me a support ticket. Said, hey, Bill, I just sent a support ticket. Leave me your email address, or I'll respond to the support ticket and give you the documents there. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Those are really good documents, too, because the form, like next step, that's where they tell you how much money they have to put down or to pay on the monthly payments and stuff.
The only other two places you can get these documents, both of those documents, is in How to Buy Real Estate Without a Loan course, which is $500, or if you buy my document kit, which is $2,000. These are worth hundreds of dollars, these documents. So I'm paying you hundreds of dollars, literally hundreds of dollars, to leave me a testimonial. It's like, if you don't have 5 minutes to leave me a testimonial you want to make a couple $100 an hour, I just told you how to do it. At least for 1 hour anyways, because I'm going to give you seriously the documents that I use, and they're worth hundreds of dollars. Okay. Good. So let's move on. Now, if you leave me a testimonial, I did that. So the key questions you must have up front once they start talking to you are the things that you want to find out about. And this is how you weed out the good tenants and the bad tenants. Okay? So the key questions you must find up front are, how's their credit? And you should, if you're listening to this now, you should write these down, because these are the key questions of finding good people. And they tell a story. I'm going to explain all this to you in a minute. So how's their credit? Is it good, fair, bad? And you only want to know this not to evaluate them with. You want to know how much work you're going to have to go through to get them a mortgage later on. So it's like what do you do with them once you find out what it was? Right. Number 2, what's the most they have for a deposit? Right. And don't take one answer. Let's role play it, Pete. So Pete, what's the most you think you could put down on this property today?
I have about 5,000.
Oof. Okay. Is that the best you can do?
Well, is there an amount that you need?
Yeah, the most I can get.
Well, I could borrow more.
Here's what's going to happen, Pete. I'm going to make a deciding factor based on how much you can pay a month and how much you can put down, because I want to feel safe in this deal. So the more money, the more skin you put in this game, the better I'm going to feel. End of role play for a second. Isn't that what we hear from the sellers all the time?
Oh yeah, sure. So
now we're doing okay. So back to role play. So the more you can put down, the better chances of you getting this puppy.
Well, I could borrow a few more. I can get up to like 8, maybe 10.
Okay, that might work. Okay, so now end of role play. So you want to get the most. Then the next thing you need to find out, which is number 3, are those funds available? and when.
Mm.
Now watch this. Ready? Let's go back to role playing.
Yep.
So Pete, how would you borrow that money?
For my family.
Okay. So you have a family member you think would give you that much money?
Yeah, they would.
What happens if they say no?
I could probably pull it out of my 401k. It costs me a little money, but I could probably pull it out of it.
There you go. End of role play. See what just happened? What did I do? I pushed you because I was willing to give you a note for the $5,000.
Mm.
But I pushed you and I didn't lay down easily.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm testing your motivation right now, and I found out you have a 401k. So what am I going to do now? Shut up. Okay, that's what we need to do, Pete. When can you figure that out?
Well, I'll call my my finance guy, and usually takes about a week to get those.
How much you got? How much you got in that 401k?
I have about 80,000, but they limit what I can take. Yeah.
Okay, so 5,000 would be five or 7,000 would be no problem.
Yeah, that's fairly easy.
Because remember, Pete, you not only need the deposit money, but you need the first month's rent too.
Yeah, I have that.
Okay.
I have that.
Okay. Good. So end of role play. See how it goes? I pushed a little bit because I did the flinch. Ooh.
Yeah, right? I learned that a couple of times. What's the flinch bill? Like, ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Like you said, you have $5,000. I'm like, ooh, because you're going to give me what's comfortable. Yeah. I don't want you to be comfortable. I want you to be uncomfortable. Because in a month from now, once you've given me that money and you're paying me, you're living in the house, you're not going to remember that money. You're going to remember it, but you're not going to. The pain point's going to be gone. You're going to be glad. I'm glad I gave him the $10,000 I got in this house. Right? And later on, when you go to refinance, you're going to be glad because you had the money and you can get FHA approved because you already gave the money.
Yeah, because the money down is deposit money as far as the bank is concerned. They'll see that we have some kind of note you give them. I haven't seen that, but the banks, they already have $10,000 down. They don't want to give the whole amount. The less they can lend percentage-wise on the house, the safer they feel.
Right. So I want to clarify this because I had trouble with this in my coaching group. So the deposit money, the $10,000 now is money you give to me before you move in the house. I get the money, preferably in a money order, a certified bank check, so that I could make a photocopy of it and put it in my folder. Okay. And 2 years from now, when we write the purchase and sales agreement and you go get a loan, I'm going to give you credit for that $10,000. So you're not giving me another $10,000. I already have the $10,000. I got that up front. So if you're buying a house for $200, I'm going to put on the purchase and sales agreement that you're paying $200. You gave me $10,000 already, and you have to borrow $190.
Right.
Okay. So you're just giving them a credit when they go to purchase. If they move out, they lose that money. They don't. The only place they can get that money is on the purchase and sales agreement when they buy as a credit. Okay. So I just want to make sure I clarify that because it seems to be a confusion all the time, right?
Okay.
All right. So first thing you need to know is how their credit is, good, bad, or ugly. Okay. What's the most they can pay for a deposit now? Are those funds available now? If not, when? And realize that we could do a promissory note. Like if they say, well, it's like December or January, and they're like, well, I'm going to do my tax return. We always get $8,000 back. How much of that $8,000 were you planning on using? Well, we can use $5,000 because I got to pay back my brother $3,000. You can write a promissory note for like until the end of February, the end of April or May or whatever. Write a promissory note, no interest, and get them to pay you. Right. So I, being the type of guy that I am, always make sure that when I decide how much do I want to get for a down payment, I'm going to have plan A, plan B, and plan C. That's how I get my money. Like right now, I have someone that owes me $5,000 because I did exactly that. So I put him in the house like 4 months ago, and it's 4 months later. I already got a chunk of dough. I'm already making, I don't know, $400 or $500 a month positive cash flow off of them. And now I'm going to get, quote unquote, as far as I'm concerned, a free check for $5,000. Right? I mean, I already did the deal. I already made $8,000 or $10,000 when they moved in.
Yeah.
Right. So it can be done. Right. So I always bump my deposit. If I think I want to get 8, I'll ask 10 or 12. or 15,
Mm-hmm.
and then work my way backwards because I know I'll do a promissory note. Make sense?
Sure.
Now this is important. What's the total income of the tenants that are living there? So I always go through the fire drill of who's going to be living in the house. Especially if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, I'm going to get, and what I'm concerned about is who's going to be on the lease. So I'm going to get both of them on the lease.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I go to court, they're both going to court. So now I want the collective income of the property. A lot of times what happens to me, more often than not, it'd be like a mother with a daughter that's got 3 kids,
Mm.
you know, or a son that's got 2 kids, you know, or something like that, you know, or it's a family, a lot of foreigners, you know, we have Polish people, and we have you know, Indian people will do that, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's their heritage and they live together. So it'd be like the parents and the daughter and the son-in-law will all live together with 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So whatever I get, I'm going to make sure whoever's on the lease, I want to get the collective income. Now pay attention to this. This is important. It has to be not the gross amount. I try to get the net amount, if I can, at least 3 times whatever the rent is. So if the rent is $4,500, I want to see, I'm sorry, if the rent is $1,500, I want to see $4,500, $5,000 minimum for income. Okay? You don't do that, don't do the deal. I'm telling you, I've done it both ways. This is huge.
Yeah, isn't that like kind of industry standard for rentals, that somebody wants to rent your property, you want to make sure they're making enough money to pay the rent and have money for whatever else they need?
I learned how to do this before I learned how to do rentals, so I didn't know that back when I was doing this. That's why I'm telling you this now, because
it makes sense, but that's a good number, 3 times. I had a guy who was renting my property. I think he made $400 a month. So like,
right.
No, never mind. Next person's making $60,000 a year. I think I'll take that guy.
Right.
Hey, Bill, do you ever worry about a boyfriend, girlfriend buying a house or on this system in case they break up? You ever worry about that, or is that just, well, if they do great,
I get the backstory. I find out, are you getting married? You know, I mean, I ask some pretty bad questions sometimes, which we won't talk about here, but you know, like I ask questions.
Yeah, I noticed just doing rentals. Somebody mentioned too, like people go, "Oh, I'm moving with my fiance." That's just boyfriend. They're just trying to make it look good. And they're not. They're just some random boy or just some person. And they make it look good sometimes. Okay.
Last thing is, how steady is the income? Right. So I try to verify this information. You definitely could do it through pay stubs.
Yeah.
Or you can sometimes ask for tax returns.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And sometimes you could call the employer. Now, in the particular case like what you're talking about with the boyfriend, girlfriend, that's a simple solution. Just ask for the last 3 tax returns from the 2 of them and see what their addresses were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll be the same or different. Sure, I got you. Good.
It's just, it's a clue, right?
Bill, does tenant reports help with any of this?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Tenant reports we use, but I don't think everybody on this call should use them because you have to qualify for them. So now let's move right into the background checking. So
I must be
well done, Peter.
Yeah. I must be tracking.
To find so we want to do background checks because we want to find the pedophiles and we want to find the professional renters. Right? Professional renter is someone that knows more rules than you do and how they could stay without pay. Right?
Yeah.
So we use a few different services. You just named one of them. What was the name of it? Because I never remember.
Tenant reports?
Yeah. But I think the simplest one is Cozy.
Mm-hmm.
So COZY.co.
.co?
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't heard that one.
Cozy.co. Okay. This company is awesome. It charges $25 for a background check. Hell, they also offer renter's insurance for $20 a month. They collect rental payments. You pay them $2.99 per door, and they'll actually do your disbursements or pay your bills. So you can put in there. So if if your seller is requiring you to pay $1,200 a month and you're collecting $1,600 a month, you can get to $1,600. They can pay the mortgage company or your seller the $1,200 and then send you a check, or it's electronic deposit. They send you money for the $400.
Cool.
Suppose you got HOA fees, they can send the $1,200 to the seller, $200 for HOA fees, and then send you the rest.
Nice.
So it's $2.99. Now, pay attention to me. Please pay attention to me, because you guys are so freaking lucky. So freaking lucky. We didn't have this crap when I was started. We didn't have all this internet stuff and all this like fluffy like millennial crap. We didn't have that. We had hard-ass people like me and you that just said what they felt, and there you go. Okay? Everything was paper and pencil. Rock and vine. Okay? What I just told you is freaking amazing. It's worth this entire podcast. It was worth your time. I'm telling you that you go to cozy.com, and for a couple bucks, they're going to do all your bookkeeping. The rents come in, the rents go out, and there's reports. Go look at their website. So when it's time to do your taxes, you're not bringing a shoebox to the accountant. You print the report and you give it to them.
Oh, that part's really nice.
How about this one? Your bookkeeper wants to know about all your rents because you got a lot of rents in 1 month. She goes, you give her the access code, or he, give him the access code, let him go figure it out, or you just print the report and send it to him.
Yeah.
Or her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really? I got folders. See the filing cabinet behind me, Peter?
Yeah.
Look at the filing cabinet. This is just current deals. Look, here they are. That's just current deals. Okay? So I'm still old-fashioned. I'm still trying to get into the millennial age, okay? The point is that use these companies because they also control all of your, the tenants can send in, I need repairs done, like for example, the other day I was telling the story on one of the calls. I was doing a call for the monthly master guys, and I was telling the story, like, I don't know, 2 days ago, I got a tenant from the first floor saying, taking a picture of 2 garbage bags and some pizza boxes on the front step of the house. And he's like, can you take care of this, please? Because it's got flies and my wife is going to get sick.
So and the other tenant put it there.
I don't know who put it there.
Oh, somebody. Oh, you didn't know.
So, he's like, can you take care of this? It's got flies and my wife's going to get sick, right? So it's the insinuation that it's been there for like a week, right? Mm-hmm. So I texted the other tenant and I said to her, hey, I drove by, which was a lie. I never do that because they don't get along. So I don't want to start any kind of stuff. But
right.
I drove by and noticed that there was some garbage on the front step. Is that yours?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. She's a nurse. I've been working for like 3 days straight. I haven't had any sleep. I put it there, and I was going to take it out when I got home from work. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to be careful. You can't. Anyways, I believe none of what I hear and only half of what I see.
Well, it's not hard to ask a question before you make decisions, and you figure out. Just ask.
So all I said to her, because I take good care of my tenants. I mean, they like me. I'm not a scumwad. I mean, seriously, they like me. I'm not being. They like me because I do things for them. Like first thing she texted me back. She's like, "OMG, I'm so glad you texted me. I lost my phone and I didn't have your phone number and I didn't know how to get it." So I started off with, "Oh wow, you lost your phone. That sucks. I wouldn't want to do that. That's a pain in the ass." That was the conversation we had, and then I get into the the garbage thing, but. And then I end the text off with, listen, could you take care of it so I don't have to ride over there and do it for you? Right? And she respects me. She's like, yes, Bill, I'll take care of it right away.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So it's just my point is that they do it with my cell phone on my text. It could all be done in Cozy.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is when you do it in Cozy, it's all recorded. It's all there. So if you go in court later or something like that, it's all there.
And they send you notifications when things like that happen. Like an email will pop up so you see it.
By the way, Cozy has an affiliate link that I could give to you right now, and I can make money off of you when you use Cozy. I don't make money that way. Go to Cozy directly, cozy.co, and just use it. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. Okay. This means when you do multiple properties, which, by the way, you don't know this yet, or you may know this, some of you, but probably less than that don't. But you don't know this. But once you start getting a lot of properties, you're going to spend too much time doing all this paperwork, depositing checks and picking up cash. How do I know? Because I've spent the last several months in Florida. And it sucks because I got my daughter going to pick this check up, giving a receipt. It's like, no. First thing I did when the COVID hit in March is I let all my tenants know I no longer receive cash. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now before I go down there in January, because I plan to be down there in January, February, March, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm going to plan for it, right? I'm going to put everybody on Cozy, and they're going to pay in Cozy, and it's all going to be done in Cozy. So I'm going to go into one platform that I can do on my phone, and I could do on my computer, and everybody pays in the same place. So now I can keep track of who's paying, who's not. Because right now, where it is? Oh, it's over there. I have a book, a book that I bought, and I keep track of it, and I got to write them in there. And right now on my to-do list, I got on my there catch up on the rents. Why do I got to do that? Right? Because it's all manual. Because I'm like archaic.
You're like Bob.
I don't have to get it right.
You're like Bob Cratchit.
Yeah, I'm crotchety. That's what I am. Bob Crotchety. Okay. Okay. Here's what I look for in a background check. Is all this making sense, or is this not? Desiree or whoever's watching me, Brian, Brittany, or Jessica, type in the chat if this is making sense. Yeah. Am I on the right track? Is this being helpful, or am I being too much philosophy here? Anyways, so here's what I look for in the background checks. Okay, you ready? It's a list.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I look for evictions. Mm. So Desiree said yes. Thank you, Desiree. So why do I look for evictions?
Because that's a pattern. They do it once, they'll do it again, and we don't want it.
Yep, that's very true. Very true. Thanks, Brian. All right, good. Jessica said absolutely. Okay, good. So we're good. Thank you, guys. So eviction is a court action. Mm-hmm. So it's easily found. Right?
Well, Bill, I had a tenant that was applying to rent my condo this year. And she says, "Oh, I just been living with my mother. I haven't lived anyplace else. I haven't been anywhere else." I pulled the file, and the 6-month eviction, not nearby, dragged down, knockdown fight. It was horrible. Like, thank you and goodbye.
See, they lie.
Oh yeah,
they all lie.
Oh.
Right? I'm going to go over that in a minute. But anyways, first thing I'm going to look for is eviction.
Yep.
Then I'm going to look for criminal record.
Mm-hmm.
Emma decided, God bless her soul, I was away, probably in Florida, because it's about where I go these days. I was away. And I asked her if she could start showing an apartment I had, right? Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brian. Brian says that we always over-deliver. Yay. So we like exchange in abundance. Oh, Johnny's on. Keep it up. I can always rewind if it's over my head.
Yeah.
Good, Johnny. Thank you.
Okay.
So I put that in there so you can see it. So you know that I'm
Johnny
and his family.
You're not making this up, folks. It's real. There's Johnny. Yeah. His 2 daughters. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, he's got an awesome family. Jessica's absolutely. Desiree says perfect. Brian says yes. Okay, good. So where was I going with this? Emma tells me about this girl that she interviewed, and oh my God, Dad, she's the one. Mm-hmm. So I come home 2 days later, and I said to her, all right, so tell her she's in the running and pull a report, right? Mm-hmm. And I look at the report, and I say to Emma, what do you think now? She goes, wow. I don't know, Dad. Assault, right? So she's like this complete anger case, right? She's like this. She's got anger issues. She needs anger management.
Not when she's applying. Not when she's applying for an apartment.
She was really sweet.
Oh man!
Right. So she's probably, and I'm being chauvinistic, but I didn't see her. She's probably this little cute girl because that's what they are sometimes, and she looked really put together. And you would never think that she's an MMA major. Because she's like this tiny little girl, right? So you wouldn't think she's MMA major, right? Or MAA or whatever they call it. What is that? When they fight in the cage, right? You wouldn't think she's like that because she's like, looks pretty, right? So I said to Emma, she goes, yeah, but, and she showed me this other thing. I said, Em, you want to know what I worry about? If she gets pissed off and she punches a wall, now I got a hole in the wall. She kicks a door, I got a broken door. She gets pissed off at whoever and she drives her car in the driveway and hits my house. How do I know this? You know what I mean? So background checks are important. It gives patterns.
Well,
patterns they don't want you to know.
If you have 3 or 4 people in the running, you're going to get one of those, and the rest are going to be very nice people. So why in the world would you skip 3 nice people and give it to the jerk?
Right.
So it's a no-brainer.
So I'm going to go over that in a minute. So we're going to do eviction. We're going to do criminal record. We're going to do lawsuits. Do they have lawsuits pending? Which, by the way, this is all public record. It's just that we're paying the $25 to Cozy to go pull it all and put it in one report.
And it's interesting. You get the report. It'll show like court case. It'll give you the docket number. You click the docket number, it goes fighting, stealing. It'll tell you what it is. Just click. It's public record.
Next thing you want to do is credit score. And like I said earlier, I don't care about the credit score. I just want to know how much work I'm going to have to do. Who am I going to have to use? Am I going to have to use a credit repair guy, or am I going to have to use a mortgage guy? Like, for example, I have a girl in Hamden, Connecticut that is a great mortgage girl, and she works with people that have credit issues. Right? Now, I don't know the credit person, and I know that they've done some things, but I have a credit guy with fangs in Denver. It's called it's a Flintstone name.
Barney?
No. I swear to God, it's Flintstone.
Bedrock.
Yes, that's what it is. Bedrock Credit. That's it, Peter.
Funny. I don't know who's funnier today.
I'm going to give you his. I'm actually going to give you his name and his phone number. So his name is Stephen Robert, and his phone number is 203-293-6649. His name is Stephen, 203-293-6649. He works all over the country. This guy's got, and when I say he's got fangs, he's really good with the credit reports. He does an amazing job. Just tell him that you were listening to my podcast and I was bragging on him, and he'll be like, oh, really? Fill his head, with ego, because I'm totally bragging. This guy is amazing. Okay. So his name is Steven. Phone number is 203-293-6649. Okay. How many people do that on a podcast, Peter?
Yeah, no, that's a Rolodex name. Remember Rolodex?
Yeah, Rolodex. So we're looking for eviction, criminal record, lawsuits, credit score. How about this one? Child support issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, G-Belt. I had that guy.
So you actually ask, do you have child support obligations?
Yeah.
You ask that question.
Yeah.
Right? And by the way, you don't just do it to the guys.
Oh.
Okay. Now, here's an interesting thing. If you do a background check and they scour the courts and there's a court date or a court action that's making the withdrawals from his paycheck, that's not a cool guy. That means that the girl had to take him to court and suck the money out of him. So how much does he really care about them kids? And what kind of a person is he for real?
What's he spending his money on?
You think I can go on a tangent with the liberal governor we got in Connecticut? Don't get me started on the scumbags that don't pay for their kids. And if you're one of those people, get away from me, because that's just bullshit. you got to take care of your kids. Come on. It's America. The kids, it's not their fault. They're kids. Don't be an asshole. Take care of your kids. They're kids. They're our future of this country. Raise them right. Do what you're supposed to do. Right? And if you're trying to duck from a payment from your kids, you're definitely going to duck from me. You're not living in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you right now, one of my rules in my business is you have to go to court to pay for your kids. I'm not even going to call you back. I'm going to text you and say, sorry. I'm not even going to talk to you. Get away from me.
Yeah.
No can do. Right? I've been divorced for 20 years. I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for my kids. And they're great kids because of it. And I'm not trying to brag on myself, but you know my story, Peter.
Mm-hmm. I know your story and know your kids.
My kids are 29, 20, 29, 26, and 23. They're all taken care of. Still to this day. Okay? All right, good. Child support issues. And then anything that seems weird. Any little thing that seems weird, you yank on that. You ask questions. You don't let it go until you're satisfied. And I don't mean by the buyer, like they talk their way through the paper bag. Okay? I'm talking about some sort of evidence, some sort of lawyer, some sort of, other person. You settle that in your mind, because I'm going to tell you right now, that's a cancer in your mind, because if something's weird, it's going to always lay on your subconscious mind. So when shit hits the fan, that's the first place your mind is going to go, is to that weirdness. Mm-hmm. I should have checked that. Mm-hmm. And you won't.
And the one person you really don't want to be mad at is yourself.
Right. So here's what I always do. This is clever now. Okay. And I'm not saying it because I do it, but I'm saying it because it's clever. Right? Mm-hmm. I pick something. One thing. I pick something I think only the tenant buyer will know about. One thing out of the report. And I ask a question about it so they know I was checking out their colorful past. Mm. Just one thing. And I ask them about it. Right? It catches them off guard. Plus, by this point, what's happened is you've talked to them enough and communicated to them enough that the whole family is excited about living in this house. Because they're just not going to live there by themselves. Or they're excited about this house. They've already picked, they're talking about who gets what room, and they're talking about decorations, and they're talking about where they're going to put the furniture and how they can drive back and forth to work. And they're like in the house mentally. You with me?
Absolutely. Of course they are.
So the tenant buyer will come clean now because they don't want to lose it.
Oh, that's interesting.
So when you pick that one little thing, they're going to be like, oh, God, this guy checked out my colorful past. I'm not bullshitting him. It's a subconscious thing. I'm not bullshitting him. Right? So they're far enough into the process in their head that they don't want everything to go away with the deal. Because they're already, it's been pronounced in the family. We're moving. They told their in-laws, they told their kids, they told their neighbors, yeah, we might be moving. You see, this is how it works. It's a natural progress.
He comes clean, he tells you what's going on. And do you get a feedback from his reaction, whether it's okay to move on or oh, I don't like what just happened and never mind?
Totally.
Right? Because the true colors have to hit the fan right now, one way or the other.
So, I don't know where I put this, but I'm probably going to repeat this. But the way somebody does something is the way they do everything.
Mm. Yeah, people don't selectively lie. If they lie, they lie. If they're angry, they're angry.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I pick something out of the report, just one little piece of something that I think only they would know, and I ask about it. I don't evaluate. I'm like, this report says that you lived on 123 Main Street, and it looks like there might have been a problem there, but there's no eviction notice. What happened there?
Mm-hmm.
Or it looks like you were living with someone in 2008, but you didn't get married. Like, what happened there? Because they're not with you right now, right?
Yep.
It looks like you were in a car accident and had a judgment against somebody. What happened with that? Did you get any money?
Mm.
Did you sue them? Did they sue you? What was going on there?
Mm.
You see?
Sure.
It triggers them. So now they know you've checked their colorful past.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to come clean because they're not going to want to lose the property. If they don't come clean, it don't matter because you don't want them anyway. See ya.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We have a special tool for them. It's called a boot in their ass. See ya. What is his name? On that 70s show. He's always talking about sticking his foot up his Eric's ass. Right?
Red?
You're out.
Red?
Yeah, red. Okay. Then I meet them to do the paperwork. Okay. I then meet the one I picked to do the paperwork with. And once I have everything in order, plus my money, I give them the keys.
Mm.
Okay. And nowadays it's much better than it used to be, because it used to be we needed copy machines, but I photocopy their driver's license. Sometimes I'll take a picture. I'll ask them to stand together if it's a husband and wife, or I'll have them stand together and I'll have them take a picture in front of the refrigerator, or in the kitchen, so I have evidence that it's them. I don't do that all the time. I definitely record everything. I use my iPhone. I record the entire process of me going through the lease and having them sign each paragraph of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely do that, right? Now, I'm going to finish off with this. You have to be, Peter. You have to be the most ethical person in the room to keep it so everyone wins.
I like that line, Bill. The most ethical person in the room. I like the sound of that.
You have to be the most ethical person in the room, right? If not, and you shortcut what I have taught you today, then they're going to transgress against you. They're going to do something and transgress against you. And I promise you, if they do, the first thing when somebody transgresses against you, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to withhold themselves or withdraw from the situation. They're going to go out of communication with you. They're going to hide from you. They're going to feel bad about it because they're afraid they're going to get caught.
Yep.
So don't let them do that. Don't start the relationship off knowing that they're lying to you, because they're going to be weird. They're always going to be weird because they lied to you and they got away with it. And they're always going to wonder that you're going to find out. And that is weird. That creates weirdom.
Yep.
Don't let them do that. Have them confess. Have them confront you. Have them tell you. Now, the trick is to don't evaluate and don't punish them because they told you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a kid. I talked about this last week. It's like my daughter says that she's going to date a boy and he's in jail. Right? I don't say to her, what are you going to do that for? And fly off the handle. I'm like, oh, okay. How's that going to work? And then I'd stop talking about it. And the next day I come back to her and I say, about that boy that you're going to date in jail, exactly how's that going to work? And I come back at it at a different conversation when they're not all wound up about it. Right? So the same thing can happen when you're talking to a tenant. It's like, don't evaluate, let it slide by, and then come back to it later on when you're ready to talk about it and catch them off guard. And you'll get the real thing. But you have to be the most ethical person in the room, and you have to play both sides of the chessboard. Right? You have to be determined for both of you because they don't know, or you have to assume they don't know, and you have to do what you would want to do for your family with them. So in other words, just don't go after the money. Just don't get blinded by they're giving you 10 grand. Do the right thing. Set the deal up as if you were going to do this with your wife and your kids, or your husband and your kids. You have to be the most ethical person in the room. You have to. It doesn't work unless you do that. You have to be honest, you have to be transparent, and you have to pull from them. Like yank it like a tug-of-war rope. Any transgressions they might have on you, that they might be lying to you, and get them to fess up. If you don't, the relationship will always be weird. Because the only thing that you have with this tenant that works is a good communication cycle. Mm-hmm. Your ability to talk to them. That's the only thing that can resolve everything, is a good communication between you and the tenant. And when you lose that, and when they transgress, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to stop talking to you because they're afraid they're going to get caught. So they're going to dampen their communication with you, and the relationship is going to go sour. Just think of any relationship you have with a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend. That's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. Somebody did something they don't want to know about. They cheated on one another, or they spent $5 when they shouldn't have, or whatever. And it starts the lack of communication. And as soon as the communication drops down, the relationship goes sour. It's the same way with your tenants. When they text me and say the garbage is on the front steps, I text him right back and say, I'll check into it. I don't ignore the text for 2 days because I don't know what to do with it. I say, I'll check into it. And he knows this tenant, he pays me on the first, on Zelle, like clockwork. Because he knows when something goes bad, I'm there. I'm going to do my part as a landlord. Mm-hmm. He's going to do his part as a tenant. I'm going to do my part as a landlord. Now, he's renting an apartment, but that's how it works. That's how you do this. And they got to have that feeling right up front. And the only way they can do that is to make sure you thoroughly check out their background, and you ask a couple questions. You provoke them to come clean with their lies, and allow them to do that without evaluating for them, and let them come clean, and then you make a decision if you should carry on or not. Mm-hmm. Until you get them to come up with, until they come clean, the conversation is not going to be frank. You're not going to be, you're going to have a superficial conversation. It's like a socially polite conversation. You're not really communicating. You're just socially being polite. You need to pierce that social veneer, and you need to find out the real shit. Otherwise, don't put them in there. And it's not hard to do with today's technology. I'm overstressing to this point, but this is the magic of finding a good tenant buyer. Right here, what I'm talking about right now is the magic. Okay. Before I end off, I want to say this: sellers need a lot of education on how to do a rent-to-own. Sellers need a lot of education on how to do a rent-to-own. Most of them don't understand it. They don't know they can sell that way. Sellers need a lot of education. They need a lot of work. They need a lot of hand-holding. Buyers don't. They know how it works. They're receiving it. They will do everything they can to sell them on you to get in, including lying. Make sure you pay attention to every detail and then verify. The way people do something, which is what I said before, the way people do something is the way they do everything. So you're looking for that one piece of evidence, and it could be that they pay on time every month. Like for example, the woman had cancer and lost her job, right? I've had this happen, lost her job, and they still paid the rent. The mother and father helped. But they took responsibility, and they went and figured out how to do it. So the way you do something is the way you do everything. So the fact that she did that, that means she's going to do everything that way.
Yeah.
Right? So one lie means, what else did you miss? Right? Don't overdo it and interrogate them like they're Gestapo, but be thorough enough that they come clean. And clean hands make better deals and easier tenants and buyers. Try what I tell you in this podcast, and you will win, and you'll be amazed how simple it could be. It took me an hour and 45 minutes to explain it to you, but honestly, it's not that hard. Just follow a few of these guidelines that I'm telling you about, and you'll be amazed when it happens in front of your own eyes. Mm-hmm. It's not that hard. It's harder for me to explain it to you than for you to do it.
Well, to me, you're explaining what to avoid, and you can almost get the feeling that there might be a lot of this. But like I said, if there's like just a rental application, you get 10 applications. You could be one bad one like this. The rest are really nice people. You do the tenant report, and they're fine. So just avoid that person, and amongst the other ones, you find something good, don't you?
So here's a pre-qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
What did I say? Cozy.co.
Yeah.
Charges $24.99 for a credit report.
Mm-hmm. So
when people submit an application, you tell them you need $25 for the credit report.
Yeah.
That's a pre-qualifier right there. If they give you the $25, they're not worried. If they don't give you the $25, they're going to be like, he's going to find out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just did it on the rentals. And the first time I did it, I almost felt bad charging. But the second time, like, no, hell no, you're paying for it. The lady who was evicted and all that paid me the $25 to find out about her. Yeah. How dumb can you be?
Because people want to be caught. Criminals lead clues because they want to be caught.
I just read that this morning. Like, you think they do the logical thing? They do the illogical thing. She had eviction, she had a court case, she had assault, she had all this stuff, and she gave me the $28 when I used, and I find out, and I tell her, like, what the hell? Like, why don't you just, like, never mind and go home?
So they give you $25. They could pay you how I usually take it in cash, right? And then I go off and I do the credit check. But it's their first point of, like, being honest with you.
Yeah.
And disclosing what's really going on. Right?
Yeah, if they're serious, if they don't give you $25, forget it.
Yeah. They're not serious anyways. Right?
Yep.
All right, Peter. So we're over now. I would like to ask everybody that's listening to don't forget about the testimonial thing. If you do a testimonial for me and send me a support ticket so I can go verify it, I will send you those documents. Don't forget to go down into the description portion of this podcast if you're listening on your phone and click on the link that says free stuff. There's 25 different videos and scripts and checklists and all kinds of stuff there for you to be able to do a bunch of cool shit. And if you're subscribing to, make sure you subscribe to me however you're listening or to us, and also make sure that you leave us a review. If you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and scroll down, both podcasts are on there. I've changed the page, so if you have not been on my Flipping Houses for Rookies site in the last 2 or 3 days, go check it out. I put some new stuff on there. I've got new courses on there that I'm giving away for free. There's a 3-step process I just added there, so you can get onto that and go check it out because I think you'll like it a whole lot. Okay? With that said, Peter, thank you for being here as always. Thank you for all the guys that are on social media that are sending us lots and lots of notes over here. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm really appreciative of all the support that we get because we get a lot of support. So thank you for being there, and please keep coming back. All right, over and out, guys. Have a great day.